Hello everybody, welcome to Leila's Literary Landscapes. Today we are in Bath at the Royal Crescent that was finished by John Wood the Younger just before the American Revolution in 1774. It is the premier example of Georgian architecture and it's been a beautiful city. Charles Dickens has come here, noted about the water, particularly at Spa Bath and the Roman baths. You can taste the water and find that it's quite minerally and metallic. Jane Austen, of course, featuring Bath and Persuasion, as well as her other texts, always mentioning Bath in some way, has a special history. You can visit the Jane Austen Center, and they show how she had lived there for a lot of the early part of her life, as well as returning to Bath towards the end of her father's life, who is buried here. So she mentions it prominently, of course, and not just Persuasion, but Northanger Abbey, and it is really incredible. I do recommend the Tea with Mr. Darcy at the Jane Austen Center, where you can engage in some really fantastic sandwiches, scones, and some wonderful English breakfast tea, and of course to learn about her life and her works and how prominently she features Bath. Also, what is interesting here is the Fashion Museum, because you can see the fashion of not only the earliest, not necessarily from Roman times, but you have it something along the lines of the 1600s Bath fashion, all the way to the contemporary with some Givenchy, Dior, and some other notable designers like Galliano. But in terms of the historical artifacts that are there, it's quite extraordinary because you can see quite a bit of their glove collection throughout the centuries. You can see the robe à la française, robe l'anglaise, and looking at the different styles between the French and the British, of course. Also, what's really interesting are the Roman baths. Of course, you can take the waters of Bath and have a restorative massage and therapy session there in the baths, just like the Romans had. But what is super interesting and historical are the Roman baths. You can go to the museum, you can see the different rooms in which they had created the saunas, the steam rooms, cold water, and then of course the bubbling hot springs of Bath, for which this place takes its name. In the Roman it was referred to, or I should say in Roman times, in the Latin it was referred to aqua sulis. That may sound like something from Game of Thrones, but I assure you it is not. It is just the proper Latin, of course, because of the springs that were here. It was bubbling, it was hot, it was interesting, it was a trading post, it was a thoroughfare, tons of cultures, a temple was erected in which many gods were worshipped and thanked for their smooth journey, or for the smooth journey of those traveling here to Bath. The site of the Georgians, of course, fashionable in its heyday and through the Regency, it was also a nice outpost for people to visit and come see. Many writers have been here. In fact, Mary Shelley had written Frankenstein partly in here. Of course, she was inspired in Geneva when it was rainy, but had finished it here in Bath. And so it's a very notable literary landscape. Stay tuned for more.